Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Market Open. It is June 21st, 2023, 9:21 a.m. And we are here, and it's time to open up the market. Now, I'm not going to lie, the market is not looking the best in the pre-market. We got stocks that are down, stocks that are red. I think things are... well, in general, the market's being a little, funny, and things are starting to sell off a little bit. Some of the fears on overvaluations are starting to come in. However, there are a bunch of catalysts that are actually really interesting right now that I want to talk about. But we do have a little bit of a red market. So we'll see what happens as the market opens and kind of how the market reacts. Joseph, Deltsy, John, Inbound, Ray, Cindy, Globus, Bay Ray, Jeff, McEwen, Dan Harkis, RBQ's 89, Sona, Mark LeBlanc, Joseph Liega, Felicia, hello. Heavy D, iFly 81. The wrong mic. Wow, you guys are good. 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 We did it within a couple seconds this time. We did it. We didn't have to go mute. All right, here we go. Good mic. Good mic. Good mic. Good mic. Yo, thank goodness, bro. We did this in 1 minute and 33 seconds. The OGs remember the day that shall not be named, the 4 minutes of silence that shall not be named. We should be good now. We should be good now, right? Okay. Awesome. So you guys heard me. It was just probably not a good mic. It was like a crappy mic. I missed the mic crackling. Yeah, I fixed that, right? Martin's a real one. Martin's been here for a while. Anyway, what I was saying is Joseph, Deltsy, John, Inbound, Ray, Cindy, Bay Ray, Mark LeBlanc, Ramu, Felicia, Joseph Viegas, Bay Ray, Douglas, iFly 81, Mario, Philip, Rizzo, Benny, Jeff, Deltsy. Thank you all for being here. Lars, Jeff, ER was right. All right. We got a lot to talk about. Yo, am I late? Nope. You are just on time. You were sounding like a chipmunk with that mic. Well, what I was saying was in the beginning is the market's red. And it seems like fears of overvaluation are starting to get to the market. And that's why we've gotten a little bit of a, less than adequate market this morning. It's definitely one of the more red markets, as you can see on the left-hand side of my screen. Pretty much everything is red outside of a couple of companies. And if they're green, they're flat. Like, look at Tesla. It's 274. It's like barely, it's down negative 0.04%, which is basically flat, but it's still down. S&P is down negative 0.24%. I think fears of overvaluation and Q2 earnings misses are starting to catch up to some of these companies. I also think it's natural. We've had a lot of green over the past month, particularly from May to like mid-June. And so now we're getting to the point where the market's starting to kind of be like, all right, we got the green. People are starting to take their profits, starting to go party in the summer, not worry too much about the markets. And as a result of that, we're getting some red. Palantir is down at $15.72. We got a new video from Lewis Mosley, head of Palantir UK, who was speaking about defense spending and basically explaining how they're benefiting a lot from European defense spending. We're going to watch that video in a little bit, but that video is interesting to me because if they're benefiting from defense spending, that might mean that international growth in the government sector might be accelerating. It was, barely growing really over the past couple of months, past couple of quarters. So if that accelerates, that'll be important. And you would expect it to accelerate because of what's going on in Ukraine, but it's just a question of like when that would actually happen. SoFi at 854 pre-market. Now, some big news on SoFi. Student loans are officially starting. So I tweeted this yesterday. Student loans are officially starting, and this has a lot of implications for not only SoFi, but for honestly the entire economy, given what we're going on right now. I mean, this isn't due to overvaluation. This is how markets go. Well, I agree, but I mean, you could argue that some of these valuations on companies are getting a little bit frothy. And if they're getting a little bit frothy, the market's going to start trimming them and it's going to start to come down. The reason I'm saying it's fears of overvaluation is because, again, it's the same statistic that I'm repeating that everyone's repeating, but 7 companies are holding up the S&P 500. And if Q2 earnings are not going to be good, then these companies are overvalued. Right? Like they don't deserve to be up as much as they're up. Now, I agree. Meta probably didn't deserve to be $88. Do I think it deserves to be $288? That's up to the market to decide. But if it sells off, then theoretically, the market's saying it's overvalued. So here's what's going on with student loans. And I think this adds to the point as well. Student loan payments are starting in October, as per the Department of Education. The Supreme Court still has to rule, but regardless of their ruling, student loans will resume this fall. A lot of people get this wrong. They think, if the Supreme Court allows the Biden $10,000 plan to go through, which eliminates $10,000 or $20,000 of debt per borrower, then like SoFi is not going to benefit. That's only going to happen for a select group of Americans, and the rest of them are still going to have to refinance their student loans, right? And that's where SoFi is in a prime position to capture that market. And most people have more than $10,000 of student debt, so even if you get rid of $10,000, you still have to finance the other part of it. That's where SoFi benefits. Now, here's the question. Student debt is at $1.8 trillion, and the average borrower has to pay about $300 a month when it resumes. There will be a deflationary effect because less discretionary income will be spent, which is good, obviously, for the markets. This is what Jay Powell wants to see. But how will this impact earnings for companies now that a natural stimulus, which is a pause on payments, is gone? I'm really curious what the chat thinks. $300 a month times 42 million borrowers will not be going back into hamburgers and laptops and stocks and Coachella. It's going to be going to Uncle Sam. And if that's the case, I think there's going to be a little bit of an effect we see on deflation, but also the counter effect on where that money actually gets spent, which is probably not going to be the best for different companies. And so I think that's really important to see kind of where that goes from there. It's because Jay Powell is going to speak in a few minutes, of course. Wait, he speaks to Congress in 30 minutes? He's actually speaking to Congress today? Bro, what is he? Why is this man in Congress again, bro? What could they possibly want to ask him? What do they want to know from, what could they possibly ask him that's so special? What is he going to say that he hasn't said already? Wow. Congress is really calling Jay Powell like, yo, we got to talk. That's ridiculous, bro. That is insane. Let me pull up some charts. That is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, because Jay Powell is going to tell them something they don't already know. Again, the Democrats are going to be like, why are you raising interest rates? We've got jobs we got to take care of. And then, he's going to be like, well, it's going to be the same thing he had with Warren. It's like, well, I kind of have to do what I have to do. If you guys didn't print all this money, this wouldn't be happening. You should watch it at 10. It's a big meeting. Bro, these meetings are so boring. I don't even think, maybe I'll pull up a little bit of it. But usually it's just a waste of time. But it's not like an FOC meeting. There's nothing that interesting. Look. Well, then now it explains why the market's a little bit red, because Jay Powell's going to talk. I didn't even realize that today. So thank you for letting me know that. So I guess based on what Jay Powell says today, maybe if he gives us some dovishness, maybe he sprinkles a little bit of bullishness as he's speaking to Elizabeth Warren and the Republicans, then maybe the market goes up. Maybe if he says some upside down shit, this shit tanks even more. So I guess we will see what happens. Tesla now 274. Elon Musk met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday in the New York City. And he's obviously the Prime Minister of India. Elon said Tesla is getting ready to come to India, which is going to be really exciting. I think if Tesla, and I think he even said this in the meeting, if Tesla can solve full self-driving in India, they have officially achieved AGI. Because India, man, I've been to India many times, and I could not imagine a full self-driving vehicle in India. The amount of just IQ you have to be able to drive on Indian streets is absurd, because there's barely any space, and there's a cow, there's a rickshaw, there's a Tata, and then there's a big ass bus, and then 5 horses. That's literally the streets, and I'm not making this up. I went in 2019. That's exactly what was going on. There are people, how a highway has 2 ways? There are people going down the wrong way on the highway and just swerving from you. And I saw this happen. So FSD in India is going to be quite a challenge. But if you can figure that out, Tesla's like a $15 trillion company. If they figure that shit out, that's going to be insane. All right, here we go. The market is now open on June 21st, 2023. Wake your ass up. The market is open. Tesla opens at $275. Palantir, SoFi at $8.55. Palantir at $15.71. Palantir still holding strong in the $15.70 range. Not bad. NASDAQ at 13,616. NVIDIA at $435. You see how NVIDIA is red on the day, down 0.77%, but overall still green? It's because now this 434 number, I guess, has normalized a little bit for NVIDIA. And so now, now NVIDIA's here. I just saw a comment. Philip Rizzo said, this is why Amit likes the cowbell. That is hilarious. Yes. I guess the natural cow in Indian in me got me there. PayPal, 68 Dolores. PayPal at 68, up from 58 on the lows. PayPal looking nice, having a nice little bounce. 69.20 was the top on PayPal. Let's see where it goes from here. Dice Therapeutics, this one got bought out yesterday from Lilly. $46. S&P at 435. Google at 122. Google has not had the run that Amazon or even Microsoft has had over the past couple of weeks. And I think that's something to think about. just for a little bit. That's something to think about. Microsoft hit 350, now 336. 336. Microsoft's run has been really nice. Google went from 80 to 125. I think Microsoft went from the low 200s up to 351. Google has not been getting the benefit of the doubt from the market, even though they announced a bunch of AI tools. They have the lowest market cap out of all the big tech outside of Amazon, but Amazon's right under them. Google has way better margins than Amazon, right? So you would imagine Google gets some benefits, but I don't know. Investors are a little weary right now of giving Google the nod, and maybe they're waiting just for earnings to decide if it deserves it. Apple still at 184, nice 185 now, still on that 2.91 trillion. I think it needs to hit like 188 for it to be the official $3 trillion company. Meta at 283. Meta is now a $726 billion market cap company. So Meta phenomenally well. Obviously went down from 88 to 283. Now at $720 billion of market cap. Nikola is down just a little bit. Enovix is down. We are doing the Enovix episode very soon, probably on Thursday, if not tonight. So we will be deep diving into what is the potential next end phase in the battery world, and we'll discuss that. Truist Financial down just a little bit, basically flat for the day. NEO up 4%. Congrats to NEO shareholders. 979 on NEO. Snowflake at 183. Enphase at 172, down from 181 last week. Coinbase at 58. Coinbase was recovering. That SEC lawsuit, when it dropped to 46, that was a gift for long-term shareholders or even on a trade. It's a nice, it has to get to 66 to fully get back, but it's getting back there. So it looks like the lawsuit's not going to affect it too much. Arc Innovation at 44, Roku at 68, General Motors at 36, Unity. Wow, Unity's at 40. It was just at 40. It hit 45 yesterday. Oh, I didn't even take a look at Unity. Wow, Unity's not bad. Unity was at 24 when we talked about it on Finance Junkies, or 27. I did not initiate a position, but Vitaly was talking about how he had a position, and then Apple talked about them at the Worldwide Developers Conference, and then, Unity started really doing well. SMCI at 220, Western Alliance is down, the regionals are down, Pac West is down. Yeah, that's pretty much what we've got going on. Tesla again at 275, SoFi 857 holding up. Palantir's down, expected Palantir to be down a little bit. It's had a nice run up. Let's see if it can consolidate in these 15s, or maybe do we start getting into the $14 range, but Palantir is down. And again, NASDAQ at 13,622, Palantir at 1552. Will Waymo ever operate in India? Waymo has to figure out how to do well in... Well, no. I thought you meant Cruise. Cruise is operating only in San Francisco. Yeah, I think... So Google... There was actually a good story I read yesterday about how Waymo ultimately also almost sold to Facebook, but then Google bought them out for like $1 billion. I have no idea if they're ever going to move to India, but they should. I mean, that's a big market, and Google should, get there. Now, Cruise, on the other hand, is probably not going to India anytime soon. That's like the self-driving company that GM owns that is in San Francisco. They've got a lot of work to do, just like FSD. There's a lot of work to do. Amit, do you own FSD stock? No, I did. Then I sold out of it. I didn't have a lot of shares. I sold out of it. It's like a $5,000-$6,000 position. I sold out of it to load up on some regional banks back in May. And again, there were options on regional banks. It's not that I'm not long on Enphase or I don't like Enphase, but these options were really at a strategic price to buy them at, and so I bought them at. I liquidated a lot of my portfolio to buy those options. So I got rid of Amazon, Google. Google I got rid of a long time ago. Tesla, Enphase, etc. I would buy Amit a stripper for a whole day, and she could be dancing on his live stream. That would be one hell of a live stream. That would be fun. Traffic is chaotic. Agree. Like it's like chaotic. It's insane. Traffic is absolutely insane in India. So if Tesla can figure out FSD in India, they've got a whole new market to go over. Okay, let's take a look at some of federal chair. Look at this on CNBC. Federal chair is talking to Congress. Bro, honestly, Congress is like, our tax dollars are going to these people to grill this guy about shit that they think they know about and they don't. And it's just like, it's such a waste of time. It is absolutely a waste of time. But I guess it is what it is. Let's take a look at this clip and let's get a little bit of an update on how the Fed is considering their 8% inflation target.
Congressional
or 2% inflation target.
Testimony that Fed Chair Jay Powell is scheduled to deliver later this morning is now being released. We want to get right over to Steve Leisman. He's got the details on that. Steve, anything shocking?
Nothing shocking. He's very much reiterating what he has said at the press conference and in the statement. He says that nearly all FOMC participants believe it's appropriate to raise rates, quote, somewhat further. He uses the term hold, says the Fed hold allows the committee to assess lags from prior hikes and headwinds from credit tightening. Notice he's not using the term skip or pause there. Also used the word maintaining rates or maintain. The Fed will make decisions, he says, meeting by meeting. On inflation, he says it's moderated somewhat, but there's still, quote, a long way to go to get it back down to the Fed's 2% inflation target. Bringing down inflation, he says, is going to require a period of below trend growth and some softening in the labor market. It will take time, he says, for the full effects of monetary policy restraint to be realized in the broader economy. On the economy, he says it's slowed significantly since last year, but it's now expanding at a modest pace. The consumer, he said, spending has picked up there, but the housing sector is weak. Higher rates and slower output growth are slowing business investment. But importantly, on the labor market, he says it remains, quote, very tight. Few things on labor. He says there are some signs labor supply and demand are moving back into better balance, but labor demand substantially exceeds supply still, though wage growth is showing some signs of easing.
Labor market is still tight right now. So that, I mean, Jay Powell's correct on that. And I guess until he sees that get less tight, basically meaning more jobs and less opportunities for people to get jobs, then it's still going to be harder for them to reach their inflation targets or what they think are their 2% inflation targets. SoFi just rocketed up at 874, up 2%. Not bad on SoFi. I don't know what the catalyst was for that, but someone just bought a crap ton of shares to get that baby up 2% on the day, up 17 cents. So now SoFi at 876, Palantir at 1568. Palantir was just at 1540 and it ran up to 15 cents. Again, it's like it gets to some of these levels and you think, all right, this is downside momentum. It's going to start. And then boom, it just rebounds just a little bit, you know, and it's a trend that's been going on for the past couple of weeks. And it's like, there's like people that are just ready to buy when it hits certain levels. And even if it's for a trade, there are people that are there. And so it has some momentum on it. Tesla at 275. Tesla's not up for the day massively, but it's also not down, which is good. So people aren't selling. People are holding the stock. They like the company. 275 still seems like a deal to them. And so 275 now at $870 billion market cap. I think when it hits 300, it's like 900 something billion. And then at 415 or something, it's like $1 trillion, something like that. So yeah, Tesla's doing well on the day as well. I bought 3 shares. Does that count for the rally? Yep, you did your part. You did your part. It's because dips are bought in bull markets, lots of money on the sidelines. This is a great point, man. This is the other thing about everyone saying like, oh, we're going to get into such a bear market. It's like dips are bought in the bull. Like when shit gets like, you think Palantir gets to 14, people aren't going to buy. It's like, you know how many people are waiting to buy at 14, waiting to buy at 13? And so we would have, again, 2022 is when we saw the stock go from 1385, I remember at the beginning of the year, it was at like 16 actually in the beginning of the year 2022, all the way down to below 6 by May 2022. That's because every time it went down, there was no money waiting for it to buy because the macro didn't support it, the narrative didn't support it, and like, you know, it wasn't a bull market, right? So when you went a leg down, it was like, all right, let's break the next leg. Let's break the next leg. Let's keep going down, keep going down. How low can you go? You know what I mean? It's like a fucking playing limbo or some shit. In a bull market, it's like, oh, you broke the next leg down. Good. I was waiting for that. My limit order went through. And I think, and that's one thing I've learned about a bear market versus a bull market, because then you start to at least realize a little bit that, you know, what type of market you're in and how the market is expecting it to ultimately react. And a bull market is just a little bit different. S&P 500 at 435. SoFi at 866. Palantir at 1553. Now, as we see what's going on. Student loans, my guy, huge catalyst, as we all know. Yeah, but I think that's kind of priced in, at least in terms of like it's definitely starting. I don't know if that was a huge catalyst. I think officially when we start putting up some numbers in Q3 on student loans, or even Q4, then like it's really going to take into effect. But I think the run from 4 to 70 to 10 kind of definitely built in some momentum on student loans for the stock. What effect will Powell's remark have on the market? If he says something nice, it might go up. If he says something bad, which he probably will, it'll go down. So that's what'll happen. That's the best anyone can analyze it. Tesla still needs to go up to like 47% to reach all-time high. It's up nicely year to date. What's up Tesla year to date? Tesla is up year to date 155%. Same as Palantir. Palantir's up about 150%. So yeah, I mean, it still needs to get to all-time highs, but it's a nice run up at 150% year to date. It's not bad. Sold Palantir at 13. It goes any lower than 13. I'm buying back those shares. Yeah, I mean, look, you're not alone, Adele. There's a lot of people that sold and they're trying to, get back in, and it's like it could happen on a retrace, but it's just how the market kind of played itself out. All right, well, I find this video of Palantir speaking on defense spending today. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to play another clip right now, and then I'll get that video ready to go. And we'll get a little bit more macro analysis on what's going on from here. Let's look at this guy. So you guys know I click on CNBC clips sometimes based on the analyst in the thumbnail. And our job is to analyze the analyst. Analyze, you know what I mean? So let's hear Atlas's Merchants Bob Diamond. What a hell of a name, Bob Diamond. Could you imagine being in school saying my name is Bob Diamond? Wow. Fed doesn't see magic in 2% inflation. It's about stability. Let's see what he has to say.
Join us to talk about the Fed's
Bob Diamond actually sounds like a porn star name. I'm not going to lie. All right.
challenges, the markets, and much more. Bob Diamond, CEO of Atlas, a merchant capital, former CEO of Barclays. Even if we do another 50, we had 4 straight 75s. So if we got two 25s left, maybe at some point, doesn't that at least mean we're at the tail end of things and we've made some progress?
For sure. As we talked the last time I was here, we think inflation has peaked. I think the Fed is reasonably pleased with, headline inflation at 4% or a touch under 4%. I think if this year it ends at 3 to 3.5%, I think they'll be pretty pleased, Joe. I do not believe that the Fed sees any magic in 2%. I think it's about stability. So I think they're pretty pleased. I think there's more likelihood of another 25 or 50 over time than there is of a cut this year. I think where the markets really got ahead of themselves is starting to think that, it's peaked and now it's going to start going down again. And I think, the hurdle for the Fed to reverse course is really, really, really high. The hurdle for them to pause, I think this was appropriate. And I think it'll be very data dependent going forward.
What is your definition of reversing course? Cutting or just stopping?
Yeah.
Okay. So
No, I think a pause is highly appropriate.
yeah, but a pause is different than a stop.
We don't know yet. We might look
so
back
it's
and say
possible
it was
to
a
stop.
stop.
It's possible.
No, I think you phrased it correctly. I think they may stay here. I think it's very data dependent. I don't think it's decided that they're going to raise another 25 or 50, but I think there's no chance of cuts in the foreseeable future.
I mean, I hate to say that they're really doing a good job, but and everybody's worried about the stop-start 70s that would really mess things up, and we had to bring in Volcker. I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think the inflation is the same, I don't think the threat is the same, and I think a stop is or a pause or a, what do you call it? A halt? What they call it?
Keep in mind when Volcker stepped down in 1987, inflation was still just above 4%, and he was like the icon of killing inflation. So I do think we all worry too much about that 2%.
Yeah.
That target was set, I think, in 2012.
They may regret it, but they don't want to step away from it. I think it was Neil Kashkari who told us here on the set that they don't want to give up on 2% just yet or back away from it because they're afraid they'll lose credibility if they do that. You don't want to move the goalposts midway through the game.
Well, a target has been set, so they have to pay attention to it. But in my view, if headline inflation is 3 to 3.5% at the end of the year, they will feel very, very good, and I think the pause will remain.
But
so Bob Diamond is correct. He is he's not said anything or any type of analysis that would be equivalent to finding a diamond in the rough in terms of his evidentiary basis to make claims that are unique or original. And I don't blame him, right? He's an analyst. It's kind of hard to say things that are unique and original. But his argument that the Fed will be happy if inflation is just stuck at 3%. I mean, yeah, I think the Fed would be dancing till the sun ends. Until if they could figure out inflation's at 3 by the end of the year, they wanted inflation at 2. If we get inflation at 3, oh my goodness, the Fed would be so happy. I think the Fed would be very happy. And then 2024, we get inflation at 2 within the first couple months. We're talking cut after cut after cut. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen. And so I think 2020, and if it happens anytime below that, if we get to 3.2 by next month, Palantir now at $15.30, SoFi at $8.63. Like what I'm seeing, the estimates is 4.0 to 3.2. And then from 3.2, it'll get down to like 2.8, 2.7 by like November. If that's the case, we're getting very close to 2%. It's going to happen. And the Fed's going to have to, and that would be the softest landing of a recession we've ever had. It's not 2008. Like 2022 was bad, but because people didn't lose their jobs, it wasn't 2008. right? And that's the thing where somehow we pulled it off. And it's kind of makes sense. COVID and the pandemic was such a crazy time, and a lot of people lost their jobs and everything. And I know the market ran up because of quantitative easing and printing money, but it was still just a crazy time that kind of was the 2008 moment, if that makes any sense. And the recovery from that, it makes sense why it hasn't been as catastrophic, because not only was 2020 so catastrophic, but you don't expect a recovery from a pandemic where things are just absurd to be similar to what happened in previous recessions, which is this catastrophe of job losses, all that stuff. It's probably going to be an absurd recovery. And 2022 was insane in terms of stock valuation and market cap declines and multiple contractions, but the recovery has kind of made sense in terms of a lot of these stocks coming back to normal, even with interest rates being where they're at right now. Nvidia at 430, Palantir falling now at 1520. So it seems like Palantir is getting sold off. SoFi at 857. And again, we've been expecting this to happen for a while. Let's see if it is able to remain resilient in this $15 range. But again, it's still run up from 7 to 15 over the past month. So you would expect a little bit of retracements from a lot of these stocks as they're continuing to head up right now. So I guess we'll see how the market ultimately interprets that. When are you talking about Enovix on Finance Junkies? Probably either tonight or tomorrow. It will happen this week. We're getting everything's ready. We might invite some guests on. So we are getting ready to have an episode dedicated to Enovix. There's a small chance we're under 3 on the next CPI headline print. I agree. I've been reading the same articles you have, Crossroads. That I heard 3.2 is what I've heard from most people, but there is a shot. This shelter cannot be as sticky as it was last time, but if it's not, then we're gonna get a good chance. Looks like I'm getting slaughtered again today. Nice. Well, look, if you guys were looking to buy, hopefully now is I don't know if the price targets are good enough yet to buy, but if you're buying over the past couple of weeks, it was really green, and they probably weren't the best days to buy, but now we're getting some red, and the red days are the days to load up a little bit more. But again, I think some of the valuations are still a little bit high right now, and it can probably go down a little bit more before you really, really load up. Thoughts on Adobe? Adobe's very interesting. I probably should have taken more stock into Adobe, literally and metaphorically. Adobe's now $491 when it went down to $275 from the Figma acquisition of $20 billion. I didn't realize how deeply ingrained Photoshop and Adobe Premiere were in people's lives. I used Adobe products, right? So I understand the company and I understand the business decently, but I guess I didn't understand the overall effect of Adobe on culture, because $275 is probably very cheap, or was very cheap at the time. It went down almost 40% in a day. They went from $380 to $275. So it was a pretty massive. And it went down to $250 at one point, right? Adobe declined pretty badly. And so I didn't buy the stock. I'm definitely not buying it now at $490. I'm not doing that. Yeah, $274. So that was low. Okay. I'm not buying the stock now, but it is a stock that I guess is definitely exciting for a lot of people. And, now it has momentum on the upside. How much tax do I get if I sold short-term gain? I believe it's in the United States, it's 20%. So if you're in the United States and you sell your taxes before a year, you have to pay 20% of that. But that's also in conjunction with your income. So at minimum, you're going to be paying 20% on that. So if you hold for a year, you get to pay 15% or sometimes 10%. Hey, Mick, can anyone hop onto Finance Junkies to ask questions? Yes. We usually send the link at the end of the pod. So next time we send the link, just hop on. You can talk. Thoughts on Nubank. So I don't have a position in Nubank. Let me pull up the chart real quick. Tanner, one of my friends at Future Investing, he loves this company. Chris actually really loves Nubank as well. Their Latin American growth is insane. I mean, now the valuation, you could argue, might be a little bit stretched at, I think they're at 30 billion. Is the company? Yeah, 36 billion right now at $7.67. But their growth definitely justifies some of the valuation. I think the stock was at $4. As you can see, it's a nice steady momentum up here. Yeah, it was at 339 back in January, and now it's at 776. So been a nice growth rate. Latin American penetration is amazing. Obviously, companies like JP Morgan, SoFi, Bank of America, they can't compete in Latin America. You have to have a different culture. You have to have a certain go-to-market strategy. And Nubank has been able to do really well. It's also a Buffett stock. So Buffett owns a decent amount of these guys, been supporting them for a while. Is it a good buy right now? I don't know, because I don't understand their current growth rates. But if you ask Tanner, I think he would say it's an absolute big buy, because Nubank is one of those companies that's just growing like a madman. If Chris is in, I'm in. I don't know if Chris still has a position. I mean, I know Chris was bullish about them. I don't know if he still has some. I'll have to ask him actually, but I don't know if he still has them. Okay, so we got a new Palantir video. Here's my question to the chat. It's a 7-minute video. Do you guys want to watch it? And that'll probably end out our live stream. It's a 7-minute video on the head of defense, the head of the UK speaking around Palantir seeing benefits from European defense spending. Do you guys want to watch it? Yes or no? If you don't want to watch it, then that's okay. We can move on to something else. But if we do want to watch it, we can take a look at it. 7 minutes, and it's him talking about defense spending. We want to watch it? Okay. Seems like we want to watch it. Yep. All right. Cool. We'll pull it up. Here we go. This is Lewis Mosley speaking on defense spending. Let's see if there's anything unique that he says here. This is with Bloomberg today this morning for Palantir.
Who's the UK?
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me. 3 reasons. First, talent. The UK is a world-class destination for AI talent. Brilliant universities, fantastic people coming out of those, but also a magnet for global talent. And I think really only second to the US. Second is this evolving, as you mentioned, approach to AI regulation. I think the direction of travel there is very promising. And third, for us, actually, this is really a natural evolution. It's a well-kept secret, but we've had a very large presence here in the UK for over a decade, nearly 1,000 engineers based here. And we do much of the core research and development for our other software here in the UK.
Louis, there has been quite a lot of pushback, right, for some of the contracts that you've been trying to get for NHS, and doctors being worried that it's a private company managing some of the infrastructure and what you do with the data. What kind of assurances would you give today to people working in services that are worried about how their data is used?
Okay, so this is a big question there. He's asking specifically about the NHS, so I'm really curious to hear what he has to say about this one.
So I think those are very legitimate concerns. Anything that
Yeah, you see the smirk on his face? He's like, these fucking idiots. He's just trying to be politically correct right now.
touches patient data in the NHS needs a lot of scrutiny. But I think a lot of the concern around us specifically stems from a misunderstanding about our business model.
Stems from George Soros spreading this stupid propaganda. That's what he wants to say right now. I like this guy.
We are not interested in the economic sense in the NHS's data. We're interested in their business. Unlike other tech companies, we don't monetize data. Our business model is licensing our software to help large, complex organizations to make better use of the data they already lawfully control.
You're in the process of bidding for about a £400 million contract. I know you don't want to get into the details of that bidding process, but can you just give us a sense as to your level of confidence as to whether or not that's going to
Ooh, let's hear this.
Give us a nod as to how you feel about that process.
I'm really sorry, Tom. I can't comment on ongoing procurement processes.
That means we're getting the fucking deal. Bro, that means he's like, bro, I look, we got the deal. I don't want to piss these motherfuckers off. I ain't saying shit today. We got the deal. That's exactly, look at that smirk. That's exactly what that means.
Okay, in terms of the NHS stuff, and then we'll move on to what's happening in terms of defence. But there is this view, and you hear this from Peter Thiel, of course, one of your co-founders, saying that there's kind of a UK Stockholm syndrome around the NHS. There's been Bloomberg reporting around some emails from you talking about buying your way into the NHS. There's a view amongst some, rightly or wrongly, that Palantir is a bit of a predator. How do you kind of counteract that above and beyond what you've just said around the needs to put in place the right controls and the fact that you're not holding onto this data?
Yeah, I would counter that very firmly.
Okay.
I'm incredibly proud of the work that we have done with the NHS. Our software has enabled them to deliver PPE during the COVID crisis, to deliver the vaccinations to all of us here in the UK. And at the moment, we're helping them reduce waiting lists, which, as you know, is the major challenge that the healthcare system is facing.
Louis, do you worry about AI? I mean, some of your tech is so powerful, and this is something that we've been trying to explore, that actually, if it's in the wrong hands, it could really damage national security.
These are very legitimate concerns, and I'm very glad that the UK is taking a lead on this question. I think it's all about finding that balance between safety and innovation and experimentation. The challenge is finding that balance.
Are you talking to the Prime Minister and his team? Are you having close contact with the government about how to build out those guardrails? To what extent are they consulting you on this?
So I think the very exciting thing about the direction travel that they're taking is this non-statutory, broad cross-sectoral principles, but then the regulation itself happening in the context-specific domain. So if you take, for example, medicines, drug discovery, the application of AI there will be very different to the application of AI in, say, autonomous vehicles. So you want the individual regulatory body in that domain to take the lead.
But how do you know who you're selling it to and what they use it for?
Well, this is where I think it's so important to have that body of law that exists here in the UK, world-class courts, world-class regulators, and they take the lead.
Okay. Overall, pretty good. I mean, now they're just talking about how do you deal with regulations and AI. I'll do a separate video on this. I'll leave the link for this right now in the chat. There's 4 minutes left of the interview if anyone wants to watch it. I think we got the big parts of that. Sachin, you just came in. So that was Lewis Mosley, head of the UK, or executive vice president of Palantir United Kingdom. Basically, the big moment was when they asked him about the NHS deal. They were like, hey, are you getting the NHS deal? And he's like, I cannot speak about that. I'm very sorry. That basically means we're getting the fucking deal. It's like, bro, I don't want to tell you, but we're getting the deal. If they were not getting the deal, first of all, I don't think he would have that smile just in terms of body language. And second of all, I don't think he would have said it the way he said it. Yes, it's a competitive bidding process. They just got a $31 million contract yesterday to transition the data. And then when asked about it, he says, I cannot speak about that. I'm very sorry. That was one thing I took away. The second thing I took away that was also really interesting is when they asked him about Palantir exploiting people's data, his response actually was really interesting. He was just like, it was a smirk. It was kind of like a cocky smirk, even though he didn't seem cocky, but I could tell because I've done, a lot of public speeches and debates before, and I've had to answer questions live. And, when someone asks a stupid question, you kind of just like, you don't want to intellectually, you don't want to call them out on anything, but you want to just be like, this is kind of dumb. But he was just like, look, we don't care about the NHS's data. We care about getting their business. We're not here to exploit data like Facebook or Amazon or Google. We're here to actually help and use software to actually change the world, not just monetize attention. And so when he said that, the way he said that, it was one of those things where he's like, look, you and your little British media tabloids can believe whatever the hell you want. We're getting this $611 million deal. I know we're getting the $611 million deal. And I know that because Rishi Sunak isn't an idiot. The PM of the UK, he knows what Palantir is doing. He's spoken about Palantir live in conferences in a way that is uplifting and optimistic about our technology, not downgrading us because he thinks we're some evil spy company, which means at the end of the day, his opinion is the only opinion that matters because he signs the check and he signed the check. That's what happened. So I think that's basically what we got from that interview. Let's take a look at the market. We've got Palantir. Where are we at? 1503, SoFi at 841. Okay, so the entire market is dropping a little bit. S&P down at 434, down 0.5%. Google now 122. Yeah, I mean, look, let's see if we get to the 14s. Might happen. Down 4% on the day. There's no major catalyst, in my opinion, outside of the fact that the market's just taking profits. Nvidia's down. That's how you know the market's going to go down. Nvidia at 426, down 11 points. Meta's down. Wow, like the whole market just took a dump there. Yeah. And not a massive dump, but they took a bit of a dump. We've got stocks that are down. Look at Tesla. Wow. Tesla was just at 276. Whoa. That one took a little bit of a dump. 269. All right. So it's time to see if the dip gets bought up or if we keep heading down a little bit lower. There we go. Palantir right under 15. And again, for everyone who gets like sad it's under 15, just please remember for the sake of your mental health, the stock was at $7 on May 4th. It is up very nicely. Okay. So it's like, unless you bought a crap ton at 15, which if you've been listening to me, at least I've been saying like, hey, just hold on just a little bit at 15. You're okay. And if you did buy and it goes down to 12, 13, then you get to keep buying on the dip. But again, even if we consolidate at $12, $13, $11, we're up 40, 50% from the lows in May, which is fine, right? You don't always have to be up 150%. And so we'll see where it ends up going up from there. I think if it keeps going, dips could potentially be bought, but the macro might be turning just a little bit in terms of people taking some profits. SoFi now at $8.42 as well. Palantir at $14.97. Sunak will be out on his ear next year, thankfully. What do you mean out on his ear next year, thankfully? What do you mean by that, 30? Mainstream asking these questions in controlled environment is helping Palantir to clear air in a simple and brief way. Yep, I agree. And Lewis, I think would have been, remember Lewis, the guy we just watched, he was the guy who was agreeing to debate Corey Kreider. He wanted to do the debate. And he's very well spoken publicly. And I think the little smirk he was giving in terms of some of these answers to these questions led me to believe that he would have destroyed Corey Kreider in a debate. But then the debate didn't happen. And again, the debate didn't happen because Palantir didn't want to do the debate. Otherwise, they wouldn't have signed up for the debate. The debate had happened. The debate didn't happen because the NHS probably told them not to do the debate because they didn't want to create a hoopla of the situation. But they were definitely getting ready to do the debate. So we'll see from there. The whole market is red and it's a high beta stock, so no issues here. Yep, I agree. Can we guess when they'll announce the deal? September. September is when they should announce the deal. Market will eventually turn green and we will test again 16.5 to 17.2. Yeah, 16.5 has been nice the past couple of days. 17 is massive resistance. 16 is also decent resistance because we've only hit it a couple times and then it's come back down. So I guess we'll see how it goes from there. All right, that's it for me, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll do an in-depth video analyzing the Lewis Mosley conversation we just saw a little bit later today. We've got Finance Junkies tonight. We might be discussing NFX. If not, we're going to be discussing it tomorrow and doing a deep dive on that. And that's pretty much it for me today. Have a great day, everyone. Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. Kill it. Please follow on Twitter. Links in the description. And I will see you guys a little bit later tonight. Powell is going to speak in the coming minutes. We already got the briefing from Powell. He basically said, Fed has a long way to go. Inflation, 2% target. Labor market is tight, and we still have a lot of work to do. That's like the synopsis of what he told Congress he was going to speak about. So he's probably just going to say the same thing. And, maybe the market tanked a little bit if he gets extra hawkish, but that's pretty much it from there. All right. That's it for me. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys later tonight on Finance Junkies. Have a good one. Bye-bye.